Welcome back to JKPRising. In today's Bioshock video, I'm gonna go back in time and explain how I got into Bioshock and why I love Bioshock. Starting with the original, the classic, Bioshock 1, which was released in 2007. I forget when I played Bioshock 1, but I definitely played it on the Xbox 360. And this was a time when I was very anal on different video games. There was a point in time where I would only play Halo games. Yes, I was that much of an anal gaming player that I would only play Halo games. I wouldn't touch anything else. That's how addicted back then I was to the Halo franchise. That's back when Halo 3 was in its prime. This was before any like DLC expansions for Halo 3. 10 years ago we're talking about. I definitely played Bioshock after it came out. I heard a lot of hype about Bioshock. It was this very unique game with things called Big Daddies and Little Sisters and plasmids, and I heard the story was fantastic, and the gameplay was fantastic, and the graphics were revolutionary. I mean, back in 2007, these graphics were earth-shatteringly amazing. It looked so realistic. It was just unbelievable on how atmospheric and how long and how much quality content was in Bioshock. I started to grow out of Halo, not in a bad way. I just started opening up my mind more, wanting to try out different games, and Bioshock was one of the first series that I tried, and my goodness. I finally realized, oh my gosh, there are other games out there that are equally as good as Halo, if not better. Bioshock was one of the first games where I played an RPG first-person shooter where you could upgrade your plasmids, you could upgrade your weapons, you could have different attachments for your weapons, and you were scanning these logs to get new abilities, and the story was so in-depth and enriching. Again, the music was great. I'm not a big fan of old-time music, but Bioshock blended it perfectly. And the plasmids were so cool, like the B one, the electricity, like shocking the water, and then getting rid of opponents that way was brilliant. Even like this, like using telekinesis to put trip mines onto a exploding canister to shoot a Big Daddy. And the first time I fought a Big Daddy, it was nuts. I couldn't believe how strong they were, and I got my ass kicked so many times. And it just like, look at this gameplay. It's so interesting on like all the tools you can use. You got a flamethrower to freeze them, you got a crossbow to make like electrical traps for splicers, and then you got shotguns for combustion shells and electric shells. There were so many combinations, and it was so fascinating to upgrade weapons in this game and to take down enemies like Big Daddies. The concept of Little Sisters were also very interesting because, like I said, this was not really in any games back then. This was so original on what you had to do and how you had to get Adam, and this was like one of the first games I played where the ending could change based on your actions. Like if you harvest all the Little Sisters, you would get a bad ending, but you get more Adam, and if you did not, you would get rewarded with better rewards, and you would get less Adam, so you would have to conserve it. And if you're playing on hard mode, you got to conserve a lot of things, and I like that style of gameplay. So Bioshock in general was an amazing experience. If you have not played Bioshock, definitely play it. It's such a unique game in every single way. And that got me into the series. I was hooked from the first game, and I was super excited to play the second game, which, let's talk about Bioshock 2. Not many people will say this, but Bioshock 2, in my opinion, is my favorite Bioshock game out of the trilogy. And I know not many people say that because I think a lot of people would consider Bioshock 2 to be the least favorite, or at least second behind the first one, but Bioshock 2 is my favorite out of the trilogy, and I'll explain why. And I actually want to make a video going into a bit more specifics on why I think Bioshock 2 is the best Bioshock game. I'm not saying Bioshock 1 is bad, I'm not saying Bioshock Infinite is bad, I just personally liked Bioshock 2 the most. Now, Bioshock, the first game, like I said, was an amazing game. Loved it, but the gameplay was a little bit clunky when you switched between the plasmids and the gun. And I think what Bioshock 2 did great was it improved on the gameplay of Bioshock 1, and I believe it mastered it, if not perfected it, or just made it so much more fun. A great example is the photography aspect of Bioshock 2. In the first game, you had to take pictures and stills, but now in Bioshock 2, you can record an opponent while fighting them, so you don't break the immersion of gameplay, and that's another great reason why I think the gameplay was improved in the second one. And hacking became so much easier. I did like the little mini game that was in the first one. It made it more challenging, but Bioshock 2 just cut through that and got got right to the point, and sometimes it is a bit tricky to hit the blue dot when it's spinning so quick. A great new feature they added to Bioshock 2 was you play as a big daddy, so now you can personally protect a little sister, and I loved guarding them and setting up the rivet gun and putting traps on the ground, and splicers would walk right through it. So satisfying. The chain gun was great. The weapons were fantastic. I love the gameplay. That's the one thing I can say that definitely stood out from me over the first one, is the gameplay is better, and I believe it's much more enjoyable than the first game. Going to the story, I think the creators wanted to make Sophia Lamb like a female Andrew Ryan. I kind of wish Sophia Lamb was more integrated into the story. I don't really feel like they fleshed her out as good as they did Andrew Ryan, so I do like Andrew Ryan more as a character than Sophia Lamb, but she still was a very interesting character. I just wish they expanded on her a bit more. The voice actor behind Sophia Lamb, though, was fantastic, so bravo to you. The Big Sisters were amazing to fight. I love the Big Sisters. I always use that part where the Big Sister jumps onto the Big Daddy at the end of my outros for Bioshock. I love that cutscene. Bioshock 2 humanized the Big Daddies. I really felt for Subject Delta. No spoilers, but the ending made me cry. The story I thought was more depressing, but also kind of enlightening. And that's what Bioshock 2 is to me. It's an extremely fun game to play. It's just such a blast to dual wield a weapon and a plasmid, and it's just so much fun, and especially to take the drill out and just to drill enemies and just ram them from far away, like the energy sword from Halo 2, like the lunge effect. It's not as long as the first game, but I think the game, it's just great overall. And I think a lot of people misjudged the second game. I feel like people were expecting Bioshock 2 to blow them away like Bioshock 1 did, when Bioshock 2 was just going to be an extension of Bioshock 1. One thing I wish they expanded more on was the sea itself. You can definitely go in the sea, but it's kind of limited to the sections of the game that you have access to the sea, and I wish you could actually fight people underwater. Like if you could have like another fight with a Big Daddy and its element underwater, or a Big Sister underwater, that would be really cool, but unfortunately they didn't do that. Hopefully in the next Bioshock 4 we might see something like that, and I'm very excited that the people who are making Bioshock 4 are the same creators behind Bioshock 2, so I am extremely excited to see some Bioshock 4 information, hopefully at E3. Once again, I'm going to go into more detail on as to why Bioshock 2 is my favorite game, and why I'll argue that it's the best game in the franchise. I'll have a video about that later on coming up, so stay tuned for that if you like Bioshock 2. Well, let's talk about Bioshock Infinite. So I've only played Bioshock Infinite one time, and it was a couple years ago, so honestly my memory's a bit faded on this game. I definitely plan on replaying it again. This game was different. It was set in the above city, Columbia, floating in the sky, and I think one thing that Bioshock Infinite nailed was the atmosphere and the art direction. It looks gorgeous, and I loved Songbird. Songbird was a character that I love fighting, I love seeing in the game, and I wish we saw more of Songbird, and I think what they did with Songbird in the end of the game I thought was very beautiful. I honestly thought fighting Handymans were a pain in the ass, so that for me wasn't too enjoyable. The ending is a paradox mindfuck that blew my mind the first time I went through it, but I haven't played it in about 3 years, so my memory, like I said, is a bit faded, and I kind of forget what it was like to play this game, so I kind of want to replay Bioshock Infinite again, then maybe upload a video where I have a more finalized opinion on the game, because honestly guys, I fucking forget everything pretty much. That was a quick overview on why I like Bioshock, the story, the gameplay, the music, the art style, the symbolism. I think Bioshock is an amazing series, and it's such an interesting, unique IP. It's too good to stop making, and I know things usually are short and sweet, but my god, Bioshock is so interesting, and they're already making a 4th game, so we're gonna get a new game regardless if people want one or not. I certainly do. I cannot wait for Bioshock 4. Let me know why you guys like Bioshock. What got you into Bioshock? When did you start playing Bioshock? Is your first Bioshock game the first, second, or Infinite? Let me know in the comments below. My name is James of JKPRising. I upload other videos like Halo, Deus Ex, Dead Space, and Metroid, as well as Bioshock. I will be actively covering news on Bioshock 4 as E3 approaches and beyond, so stay tuned for videos like that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed anything I had to say in this video, please drop a like on the video. It does help out the channel a lot, and I'll see you guys in the next video.